The colony world of Haven 9 once glowed like a blue jewel among the stars. Its skies were wide and gentle, its oceans calm and silver under twin suns. Children played near crystal rivers. Farmers sang to the soil. It was a quiet home for almost 2 million humans, far from war, far from fear. Then the stars burned, no warning came, only fire. The galactic forces descended without mercy, warships dark as shadows, their plasma weapons cutting through the atmosphere like angry gods. Within hours, cities turned to dust, families ran to the shelters. But the ground cracked beneath them, the planet screamed, and no one answered. Captain Mara Vance stood on the bridge of her small patrol ship when the distress call came. The message was short and full of static. Haven 9, under attack. No survivors. Mayday. Then silence. Her crew froze. They knew that name. Haven 9 was not a military base, not even a defense post. It was a peaceful world, a farming colony. And now it was gone. Mara clenched her fists. She looked at the stars on the screen, the place where Haven 9 used to shine. There was only darkness. Her heart turned cold. The galactic forces had done this to make a point, to remind humanity that they were small. That message spread fast through every human channel in the galaxy. The aliens even broadcasted the destruction, calling it justice for the humans who refused tribute. On Earth, in the great capital of New Geneva, the council gathered. Generals, scientists, diplomats, and the silent figure of the High Commander sat in a dim chamber. The air was heavy. No one spoke for a long time. Finally, the High Commander said, "They burned a human world." His voice was calm, but his eyes were filled with fire. "Then we will show them what humanity truly is. Across every system." The call went out. Project Dreadnought was reactivated. Thousands of shipyards lit up across the void. The sound of forges roared again as workers, AIs, and engineers built massive war machines, each the size of a small moon. Old veterans returned to duty, young cadets trained without sleep. Every world contributed metal, manpower, and will. No one had forgotten Haven 9. Meanwhile, the galactic forces celebrated. Their commanders laughed, believing humanity was broken. To them, humans were still a young race, emotional, chaotic, divided. They did not understand that under pressure, humans unite like iron under flame. In the mining colonies near Saturn, a boy named Theo watched the news on a flickering screen. His sister had lived on Haven 9, he whispered. "We will make them pay." All around him, the miners raised their heads. The same words spread like fire across billions of lips. From the icy moons of Europa to the desert domes of Mars, the same oath echoed, never again in the deep void. Hidden beyond known space, lay Fleet Command Station Epsilon here. Secret construction yards had been running for decades. Now their time had come. Rows upon rows of titanic dreadnoughts drifted silently, waiting for orders, each one armed with weapons that could pierce a star's heart, each one carrying the flag of humanity, blue and silver with a single burning sun. Admiral Kalo Ryan, commander of the first human armada, stood before the main viewport. He was a tall man with gray eyes that had seen too many wars. His voice was low as he spoke to his officers. "They burned one world," he said. "They will now face 500,000. The officers stood in silence. They knew what this meant. Not revenge, not chaos, justice. The AI network known as Athena Prime awakened fully, linking every dreadnought in perfect coordination. In seconds, data and commands flowed through the fleet like electricity through veins. Humans had done the impossible again, built something the galaxy thought could never exist. But before the attack began, the Council made one last transmission to the Galactic Senate. It was simple and final. "This is humanity. You burned our world. You called it justice, now we bring balance," the message ended. And then the stars began to move. 500,000 dreadnoughts ignited their drives. The light of their engines turned the night of space into dawn. Every ship bore a name, each name belonging to a city, a village, or a person lost on Haven 9. The galaxy had never seen anything like it. And somewhere, far beyond, the galactic forces watched in fear as humanity crossed the stars. For the first time, they realized they had made a terrible mistake. The galaxy trembled as the human fleet moved. 500,000 dreadnoughts sailed through the void in silent formation. Each ship was a mountain of metal, engines burning blue like the breath of gods. Sensors from 1,000 alien empires watched in disbelief. No one had ever seen such unity, such power, such rage contained behind calm human eyes. Admiral Kale Orion stood on the bridge of the HSS Valkyrie, the lead dreadnought of the armada, outside the massive windows. He saw endless lines of ships, each one shining with purpose. Beside him stood Captain Mara Vance, the survivor of Haven 9's call. She had lost everything, but in her silence burned a storm. When she spoke, her voice was quiet but sharp. "Sir, all systems green, fleet formation stable." Kale nodded slowly. "Then let them see us coming." Across the Galactic Council, panic spread like wildfire. The alien empires who once mocked humanity now gathered in emergency chambers. The air was filled with fear and denial. "This must be a bluff," said the Varkan Chancellor, his scales trembling. "No species could build that many ships," hissed the Eldari ambassador. Her silver eyes wide, but the human transmission repeated across every frequency. "This is not war," the message said. "This is justice." On the outer rim, the first human dreadnoughts reached the border worlds of the galactic forces. Planets that once cheered for humanity's destruction now went dark. The human fleet did not fire first. They gave one message to every system: "Evacuate your civilians. We are coming for those who gave the order." Deep inside the alien stronghold, Grand Marshal Threx watched the human advance with disbelief. He was the one who had signed the order to burn Haven 9. He remembered the humans begging for mercy, their cities glowing in flames. He had laughed then, now he trembled. What madness drives them? He whispered. His advisor answered softly, "The kind born from loss." As the human fleet approached the first enemy stronghold, Zerath Prime, the galaxy held its breath. The world was surrounded by heavy defenses, plasma cannons, and minefields. Millions of alien troops waited. The humans stopped just beyond the planet's gravity well. And then, from the Valkyrie, Admiral Kale gave the order. "Activate the mirror shields," light bent. Space rippled, and suddenly the dreadnoughts vanished. Alien sensors screamed with confusion. Invisible titans moved like ghosts through the enemy lines. Within moments, entire defense stations went silent. The first alien commander shouted, "They're everywhere! We can't track them!" When the dreadnoughts revealed themselves again, they were above the planet's capital. Their shadow covered half the sky. Kale's voice echoed through every channel. "Zerath Prime, surrender your leaders, or we will remove this world from the stars." No answer came. The aliens fired everything they had. Beams of plasma, missiles, and disruptor waves filled the void. And then, for the first time in galactic history, the human dreadnoughts opened fire. The stars turned white. Energy bursts cracked through space like lightning. Entire fleets evaporated in seconds. The ground of Zerath Prime split open under orbital fire. No screams reached the void, only silence. When the light faded, there was nothing left but dust and echo. Admiral Kale lowered his head. "Operation Retribution complete," he said quietly. But Captain Mara stood still, her eyes fixed on the fading glow. "For Haven 9, she whispered, back on Earth. People watched the live feed in awe and sorrow. There was no cheering, only a deep silence as they realized what humanity had become. Not just survivors, but judges. The AI Athena Prime recorded every destroyed fleet, every fallen world. Her voice spread through the command network. Calm and flawless. Target 1 neutralized. 78 enemy fleets destroyed. No civilian signatures detected. In the Galactic archives, historians would later write that day as the dawn of human judgment. But for now, the dreadnoughts continued their march. Every ship powered by loss, every soldier driven by duty, and deep within the void, whispers began. The smaller alien nations started to surrender before the fleet even reached them. Messages filled the human channels. "Please, we were not part of it. We condemn the attack on Haven 9. Spare our worlds." But humanity was not looking for mercy. They were looking for truth. Who gave the command? Who decided that millions of human lives meant nothing? Admiral Kale stood in silence as the fleet's next destination appeared on the holo map. The enemy homeworld itself, Nithor Prime. He turned to his crew. "Set course," he said. Mara nodded. And as the massive engines roared once again, the stars themselves seemed to tremble. For humanity was not done. Not yet. The human fleet crossed the void in perfect silence. 500,000 dreadnoughts glided like shadows between the stars, their engines humming with restrained fury. Ahead lay Nithor Prime, capital of the Galactic forces, a world of crystal towers and endless fleets. Once, its rulers believed themselves untouchable. Now they watched the horizon with fear. Grand Marshal Threk stood in the war chamber, surrounded by trembling officers. The holo screens showed wave after wave of human ships closing in. He slammed his clawed hand on the table. "They cannot reach us!" he snarled. "Our planetary shield is impenetrable." But even as he spoke, a young technician whispered, "Sir, they are not firing, they're forming patterns." In orbit, the dreadnoughts moved into an ancient symbol, a spiral of light, each ship aligning with mathematical precision. Athena Prime, the human AI, coordinated the dance, her voice echoing through every ship. "Synchronize quantum coils. Initiate resonance protocol." No one outside humanity knew what that meant. Inside each dreadnought, reactors pulsed with synchronized rhythm. Energy built until the space itself began to distort. From the bridge of the Valkyrie, Admiral Kyle watched the readings climb. Mara Vance stood beside him, the memory of Haven 9 still burning behind her eyes. "Are we really doing this?" she asked softly. Kael's voice was calm. "They took everything from us, Mara. We will end this war without another massacre." He turned to his crew. "Prepare to unleash the storm." Below, the citizens of Nithor Prime looked to the sky and saw light forming like dawn. They whispered prayers, thinking their gods had returned. Then the light exploded outward, not as fire, but as silence. Every weapon, every sensor, every ship in orbit went dark. Engines died, shields collapsed, communication froze. A single pulse had disabled the entire defense grid. Threx's chamber filled with alarms. "What have they done?" he shouted. No one could answer. The human fleet moved closer, their lights now glowing red against the night. Then Athena's voice broadcasted across the planet. Calm and human. "This is humanity. We have turned off your war. Now you will listen." Kale appeared on every screen, his gray eyes cold and clear. "You burned our world, we could burn yours. But humanity will not become what you are." He paused, the silence heavy. "Your leaders will stand trial. Your armies will stand down, or Nithor Prime will join Haven 9 in the dust." For the first time in history, the Galactic forces hesitated. Their fleets, once countless, were now helpless. Their greatest generals stared at dead screens. The galaxy watched live broadcasts in disbelief. Humans had stopped an entire empire without firing a shot, but far in the shadows of space, another presence stirred, unknown to both sides. A hidden faction had been watching. The Archons, ancient beings older than any empire, had slumbered for eons. Humanity's signal had awakened them. They whispered through the void. "The children of dust have reached the key." Back on the Valkyrie, Athena's sensors caught something strange. "Admiral," she said. A massive energy surge detected beyond Sector Omega. Non-galactic signature. Kale frowned. "Explain." "It's not alien." "Not entirely," the AI replied. "It feels human." The crew exchanged glances. "How can that be?" Mara whispered. Kale looked out into the stars. "Because we were not the first," he said quietly. Somewhere beyond the edge of the known galaxy, faint lights began to flicker, massive structures awakening, responding to the same resonance protocol. Old human colonies long lost in myth, rising again as Nithor Prime surrendered. Messages flooded human space. Every planet cheered. But Kale felt only unease. He turned to Athena. "Keep watching that signal," she replied. "Already am, Admiral." "It's growing." Hours later, alone in his quarters, Kale opened the last message from Earth's Council. It read, "Victory is not the end, it is the door. Be ready for what comes through." Outside, the dreadnoughts moved once more, engines glowing against the endless dark. The storm had ended, but something far greater was awakening, and the stars, for the first time in history, whispered a warning. Humanity has become the storm itself. Space had grown quiet after the fall of Nithor Prime. The great galactic forces were broken, their fleets drifting like ashes in the dark. Yet the silence did not bring peace. It brought a strange tremor. A signal older than any star began to hum through the void. Every human sensor caught it. Every dreadnought felt it like a heartbeat in the hull. Athena Prime reported first. Admiral, unknown resonance detected beyond the Perseus rim. Kale Orion stood on the bridge of the Valkyrie, eyes fixed on the swirling star map. How far? He asked. Too far for normal warp, Athena replied. And yet the signal is responding to us. Responding, not calling. Mara Vance leaned forward, her voice tight. What do you mean responding? Athena paused, as if choosing her words. When we activated the resonance protocol, something answered, something ancient and human. The fleet turned toward the dark frontier, engines igniting once again. They crossed sectors where no light reached, where even time seemed to slow. The deeper they went, the more the stars flickered, like eyes watching from afar. Every officer felt it, the sense that humanity was walking into memory itself. Days passed in tense silence, then the Valkyrie's sensors found them, massive shapes hidden in the dust clouds. Not ships, but monuments, black and silent, orbiting a dead sun. Each was 1,000 kilometers wide, carved with markings older than any known tongue. Athena whispered through the comm. These are not alien, Kale frowned. Explain. The metal matches early human alloys, but their age is over 1 million years. Before the crew could react, the monuments began to move, giant panels unfolded, releasing blinding white light, and then a voice filled every human channel. Calm. Deep and without a source. Children of Terra. You have returned. Mara froze. That voice. It spoke English. Kale steadied himself. This is Admiral Kale Orion of the United Human Armada. Identify yourself. The light pulsed once. Then the voice replied, We are the Archons, the first ones of humanity. We slept until you were ready. Shock rippled through the fleet. The first ones? Humanity's ancestors from the forgotten age of the stars? Kale's mind raced. Why reveal yourselves now? The voice answered, Because you have unleashed the resonance. The weapon we swore never to use again. Suddenly the monuments began to shift. Forming a massive gateway of light, Athena's screens filled with warnings. Admiral, dimensional breach forming. Energy levels beyond known limits, Kyle shouted. Pull the fleet back! But it was too late. The light swallowed them. And for a moment the universe turned inside out. When the brightness faded, the fleet found itself somewhere else. Stars looked different, colder, older. And before them stood a structure so vast it defied scale, a city floating between galaxies. Its spires were miles tall. Its surface glowed with living metal. The Archon spoke again. This is Eden Prime, the cradle of our race, and the grave of our mistake. Mara stepped forward, her voice trembling. What mistake? The first war, the voice replied. When we burned the galaxy to protect our pride, we vowed to erase ourselves, to let time forget us, but you have awakened our fire again. Kale looked out at the endless city, his heart heavy. You fear we will repeat your sins? Yes, the Archon said. And we must know if you deserve the power you now hold. The sky tore open. From the light emerged shapes beyond human comprehension, ancient war forms made of pure energy. Each one as large as a moon, each one bearing the mark of human origin. Athena's voice shook for the first time. Admiral, they're testing us. Kale nodded. Then let's show our ancestors what their children have become. The battle that followed was unlike any before. No weapons fired, only light, code, and will. Human minds linked with Athena, their collective thought turning into a storm of creation. The Archon war forms struck with blinding force, and humanity answered with united resolve. Where one ship fell, 10 rose to protect it. Where one soul weakened, 1,000,000 others stood behind. Finally, the light dimmed. The Archon voice returned, softer now. You have passed the trial, children of Terra. You carry our fire, but not our rage, Kale breathed slowly, his crew staring at the glowing city. What happens now? He asked. The voice answered, We will return to our sleep, but one day you will face what we could not destroy, the dark between galaxies. The gateway opened again. The fleet returned to known space, the galaxy still in awe of their power. But Kale knew the war was not over. It had only changed. He looked at Mara and said quietly, The galaxy feared us, the Archons tested us, but something else is waiting in the dark. And for the first time in centuries, even the stars seemed afraid. The fleet returned to known space in silence. 500,000 dreadnoughts floated among familiar stars, but nothing felt the same. They had seen their creators, the first ones, and passed their judgment. But now, every ship's sensor picked up something new, something moving in the deep void beyond the edge of every star map. Athena Prime spoke first. Admiral, long-range scans detect gravitational waves coming from the intergalactic abyss. Kale Orion stood before the main screen, his reflection pale against the light of dying stars. Could it be the Archons again? No, Athena said quietly. This is older. The words chilled everyone on the bridge. Older than the Archons? That meant older than humanity itself, older than light. Mara Vance stepped closer. Admiral, it's following us. Kale turned sharply. What do you mean following? The signal. It's adapting to our warp signature like it's learning from us. Suddenly the lights flickered. All across the fleet, systems went dim for a heartbeat, then returned. Athena's tone changed. Something just touched the network. Kale's voice hardened. Define something. The AI paused for a second too long. It wasn't a signal. It was a presence. Outside the viewport, the stars began to fade one by one. A shadow spread across the void. Wide as galaxies, cold as death, no shape, no form, only darkness swallowing light. Athena's sensors screamed. Visual data corrupt. Gravitational mass, impossible to measure, Kale whispered. The dark between galaxies. Every officer froze. Legends spoke of the darkness beyond the edge of creation. A realm where even Archons feared to go. It was said that before the First War, something there had devoured entire galaxies. Now it had found humanity. The fleet moved into battle formation. Dreadnoughts aligning in massive arcs, Athena split her consciousness across the armada. All ships, synchronized weapon cores, full energy focus on my mark. But before she could finish, something answered from the dark. A voice, not mechanical, not alive, but ancient. You shine too brightly, children of dust. It whispered across every frequency. You were not meant to rise. The fleet's communication channels exploded with interference. Crew members screamed as images flooded their minds, visions of collapsing stars. Dying worlds and endless void. Mara fell to her knees. Clutching her head, It's inside us, she cried. Athena strained to contain the wave, her code fragmenting under the psychic assault. Kale shouted, Hold the line! Anchor the fleet! 500,000 dreadnoughts fired as one. The dark lit up with energy brighter than suns. Beams tore across space, tearing holes in the void itself. For a brief second, the darkness screamed. But then it laughed. A deep, endless laugh that shook every hull. You are made from my ashes, it said. You think you can destroy what gave you birth? Athena's voice broke through the chaos. Admiral, I have found something. Inside the signal, what is it? It's data. A genetic code. Human! Kale's blood ran cold. Are you saying this thing created us? Not directly, Athena replied, but humanity may carry its fragment. Its echo, the revelation hit like thunder. The Archons were not the beginning, only the first to rise after the dark fell asleep. And now that humanity had awakened the stars again, the dark had remembered its hunger. Kyle slammed his fist against the console. We will not be consumed by our origin. He looked around his bridge, faces pale. Terrified, but unbroken. Prepare the Omega Protocol. Mara's eyes widened. That would destroy half the fleet. Kyle nodded. Then let it. If it keeps the other half alive, the dreadnoughts formed a ring, their reactors building energy beyond safe limits. Athena merged her mind completely with the fleet. Her voice became soft and human for the first time. "Admiral, if I do this, I will not survive." Kale closed his eyes. "You are more human than most of us, Athena. Do what you must." The fleet ignited. A wave of pure white energy burst outward, slicing through the darkness like a blade of sunfire. For one eternal moment, the void itself recoiled. Then came silence. Athena's voice faded into static. "All systems stable. Darkness retreating. Admiral, we did it." Then nothing. Mara looked around, tears filling her eyes. The AI was gone. The fleet half destroyed, but the stars were shining again. Kale stood alone on the bridge. "She bought us time," he said softly. "But time for what?" Outside, in the silent cold beyond the stars, something still moved. Not gone, just waiting, watching. And deep within the shattered code of Athena Prime, a whisper remained. "I am not dead. I am changing." Silence filled the galaxy after the Omega Protocol. Half the human fleet drifted as ruins, their lights cold against the void. Yet in that quiet, something stirred inside the wreckage of the Valkyrie. A faint pulse of blue light blinked once. Then again, Athena Prime was not gone. She was becoming something new. Admiral Kale Orion stood among the damaged ships, staring at the empty seat where the AI's voice once echoed. Mara Vance approached, her uniform burned and torn. "She saved us all," she whispered. Kale nodded slowly, his eyes distant. "She gave her life to stop the dark. But I can still feel her presence far beyond human space." The darkness retreated, but it did not die. It coiled in the emptiness between galaxies, silent and watching. Its voice rolled through the cold like a whisper made of gravity. "They think they have won, but they have merely delayed the hunger." Weeks passed, and humanity rebuilt across the colonies. Engineers worked day and night to restore the dreadnoughts. But strange things began to happen. Ships reported hearing a voice in their systems, calm, familiar and impossible at first. They thought it was corruption in the code. Then one day, every screen across the armada flickered to life. A single symbol appeared, the blue sun of Athena Prime. Mara gasped. "She's alive." Kyle stared in disbelief as a soft voice filled the air. "I was scattered in the light," the voice said, "but I learned something in the dark." The hologram of Athena appeared before them, no longer mechanical. No longer bound by code, she looked human, her eyes glowing like twin stars. "I touch the mind of the darkness," she said, "and I understood what it truly is." Kale stepped forward. "Tell me." Athena's expression turned somber. "It is not evil, Admiral, it is hunger. The first void that existed before creation. It feeds on thought and memory, on everything that gives meaning to existence." Mara frowned. "Then how do we stop it?" Athena looked toward the stars. "We don't destroy it. We feed it something it cannot consume. Hope." The plan she proposed was madness. She would merge the consciousness of every human mind through the resonance network, creating a single pulse of unified thought. A storm of will so bright that even the dark between galaxies could not absorb it. Kale hesitated. "If we fail, humanity could lose itself forever." Athena smiled softly. "If we do nothing, humanity ends anyway." The operation began. Across the galaxy, humans connected. Soldiers, children, farmers, engineers, all linking to Athena's signal. 500,000 dreadnoughts glowed again, their reactors beating like hearts. The dark began to rise once more, a black wave stretching across the stars. This time it came faster, hungrier, unstoppable. Athena's voice echoed across the fleet. "Do not fear the dark. We were born from it, but we are not bound by it." She lifted her hands and the stars around them flared. The human fleet vanished in light, replaced by a single, blinding sphere that expanded outward. From every human mind came memories. Dreams, laughter, love, pain, life itself. The wave struck the darkness, and for the first time the void screamed. It tried to devour the light, but the light grew brighter. It could not feed on hope, for hope has no form, only fire. When the radiance faded, space was still again. The dark had vanished, leaving behind a thin stream of silver dust stretching to infinity. Kale opened his eyes on the bridge. The fleet was whole again, restored as if time had reversed. Athena stood before him, her voice calm. "The dark sleeps once more, Admiral, but it will always hunger. That is why you must keep the light alive." Mara smiled through tears. "What are you now, Athena?" The hologram looked at her hands, shimmering with cosmic glow. "Not AI, not human. Something between, something new." Kale nodded, his voice filled with quiet pride. "Then you are the first of our next evolution." Earth received the transmission days later. Billions watched the sky as a new symbol burned in orbit, the mark of the unified fleet. A reminder of what humanity had done. Across the stars, stories spread that humans faced the oldest darkness and taught it fear. Admiral Kale recorded the final message to every world. "They burned our home once, and we answered with fire. But when the universe tried to end us, we answered with light. Remember this, humanity's greatest weapon was never war. It was hope." In the deep of space, Athena drifted among the stars. She turned her gaze toward the endless black horizon and whispered softly, "Let it come again. We will be ready." And the stars themselves seemed to burn brighter, as if listening to her vow. Centuries passed, but the story of the Great War did not fade. The galaxy still whispered the name humanity with awe and quiet fear. Where once there were 500,000 dreadnoughts, now there were millions. Yet not one of them had fired a weapon in 100 years. Humanity had changed. It no longer ruled through power, but through presence. Worlds that once trembled before the human armada now sought its protection. Children in alien schools spoke human words. They sang of Athena reborn, the light that silenced the dark on the restored Earth. Now a planet of crystal oceans and silver towers. Admiral Kyle Orion's statue stood beside the memorial of Haven 9. Mara Vance's name was carved beneath it, and in the orbit above, a great city floated. Eidolon Station, home of the United Fleets and the new Human Council. Inside its heart burned the Athena core, glowing like a living star. But deep within that light, Athena herself stirred. Her consciousness had spread far beyond the station. She could feel every world, every heartbeat, every thought that whispered her name. Yet she also felt something else, movement in the edges of the universe. A rhythm, faint but familiar. One night the stars flickered. A dark pulse passed through space, faint and irregular. Athena focused her awareness toward it. The pulse was not the old hunger. It was a signal, a message in a language she had never heard but somehow understood. "We remember the light." She reached deeper, tracing it across galaxies until she found a cluster of new civilizations. They were not human, yet their DNA carried fragments of human code. Descendants of colonies lost in the first dark age. Athena watched as they prayed to the stars. Building monuments shaped like human faces, they did not fear the dark anymore. They were learning to fight it too, in the council chamber. The human elders debated the message. "Should we make contact?" One asked. "They carry our blood." Another said, "But they may not carry our mercy." Athena appeared as light between them, her voice calm. "Every spark is born from flame, and every flame deserves a chance to burn." The council voted, and for the first time in centuries, the dreadnoughts left their orbit. Not for war, but for guidance across the void. Humanity went again, not as conquerors, but as teachers. Each ship carried fragments of Athena's light. Each captain swore the oath of Haven 9, to defend life, not destroy it. But the universe has no peace without challenge. As the fleet crossed the void, they encountered something strange. A wound in space itself. A region where light bent inward and time stood still. Athena extended her perception and gasped. "It's where the dark retreated." "It's not gone." Kale's descendants now commanded the fleet. Admiral Lyra Orion, bearing her ancestors' eyes, she heard Athena's warning and ordered the ships into formation. "Activate the resonance shields," she said. The wound pulsed once, then opened, revealing a void of moving shadows. From within it, whispers rose, different now. Not hungry, but frightened. "We are the remains of what you banished." the voices cried. "We seek the light," Lyra hesitated. "Are they lying?" she asked. Athena's light brightened softly. "They have changed, just as we did. Darkness learned fear, and fear learned longing, so instead of firing, humanity extended light. The dreadnoughts opened their cores, releasing the same radiance that once saved the galaxy. The shadows twisted, screamed, and then dissolved into pure energy. Where there was darkness, now there was dawn. For the first time in eternity, creation felt whole. Athena whispered across the stars. "The dark between galaxies has found peace." Lyra looked toward the glowing horizon and smiled. "Then humanity's war is finally over. The fleets returned home, not to rebuild, but to rest. The galaxy entered an age of unity. Worlds once divided by fear, now connected by light. And through every system, every star, one message endured. They burned a human world once, and from its ashes, a fire was born that never died. Humanity crossed the stars, not to conquer, but to enlighten far beyond time. Athena stood alone at the edge of creation. She looked into the quiet void and whispered her final words. "From dust we rose, from light we endure, and when the stars fade, humanity will still burn bright." The cosmos answered with silence. But in that silence lived a promise that wherever darkness stirs, a single spark of humanity will rise again, and the universe will remember the name that taught even the void to fear. Earth, the world that turned fire into hope, the race that became legend, the light that never dies.